Are you going to turn them off regularly?
You go.
Does this work? Does this work? It does work. Hello. Hello, hello.
Hello.
We are going to start. Welcome everyone to the 2023 Vice Presidential Debate as a part of Iowa State Student Government Elections. My name is Cody Nieper-Burris, and I am the Election Commissioner for Student Government.
And I'm Catherine Keeley, the Editor-in-Chief of the Iowa State Daily.
We would like to thank all three of our campaigns, as well as the entire Election Commission and the Iowa State Daily for their preparation leading up to tonight's event.
The debate structure will be as followed. Each candidate will have an opportunity to give opening statements, followed by topical questions for all three candidates to answer. Then we will go into specific questions for each candidate's platform. At that point, we will take a 15-minute break, and when we resume, we will ask questions that have been submitted by the student body. For those watching from home, there's a QR code on the screen that will allow you to submit your questions. At the end of the debate, each candidate will have time to make a closing statement, and that will wrap up our event.
We will begin with opening statements. Candidates each have 90 seconds to introduce themselves and tell the constituents why they want to be your next student body vice president. We will start with Jennifer.
Empowerment, academics, community, health. The four overarching reasons as to why I am standing up here tonight. You, the students, deserve dedicated representation who will work toward the goals each of you have voiced to us serving on student government. My name is Jennifer Holliday. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am majoring in agriculture studies, journalism and mass communications, and international agriculture. And on top of all of that, I am running to become your next student body vice president. We have all seen the issues our campus faces. Dozens of sexual assaults annually, continuous shortages in mental health resources, a disconnection between students and faculty, and even individuals left in the dark due to a lack of accessibility resources. Work needs to be done on these issues to relieve pressure on them, as well as so many more. That is where Emily and I come into play. We have been tirelessly at work developing a doable platform we believe accurately addresses the issues shown throughout our campus daily. Through conversations with students, faculty, and leaders across our campus, we have created tangible solutions to reach these goals. Tonight and over the course of the next month, Emily and I will continue to excitedly advocate and share our vision and mission to create Iowa State University to be a campus that is for each student and for all Cyclones. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll move on to Erilyn.
Good evening. I would first like to thank the Election Commission and Iowa State Daily for putting together this debate tonight. My name is Erilyn Tegmeyer-Oatman. I am a junior in Global Resource Systems with a triple minor in French, teaching English as a second language, and food and society. I am an out-of-state student from Pennsylvania who, upon my arrival here at Iowa State, was granted countless leadership and career development opportunities. I immediately involved myself with the CALS ambassadors so that I could connect with current and incoming students. I also ran and was elected vice president of Eaton Hall my freshman year, where I worked diligently to connect my resident hall community despite the COVID-19 restrictions. I went on to further my leadership here at Iowa State through my involvement as a first-year honors mentor and a global resource systems ambassador so that I could continue to connect with students. I plan to create a safe and welcoming environment to all, which I will do if elected student body vice president through restoration and modification, inclusion, diversity, and equity, and promoting student success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erilyn, and we'll move on to Ella.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ella Slade, and I'm running to be your next student body vice president. Thank you to the Daily for coming out to cover this event, and thank you, Election Commission, for putting this debate together. So I grew up here in Ames, and in my last 3 years as a Cyclone, I have spent so much time seeking opportunities to involve myself in the betterment of our campus community. I am currently serving my second term as a United Residents of Off-Campus Senator, and I am the president of my constituency council. Also within student government, I am the clerk for the Rules Committee, and I'm a member of the Student Initiatives Committee. Outside of student government, I work as a collegiate recovery ambassador for student wellness, so I can advocate for the mental well-being needs of my peers. All of these positions have allowed me to assess the needs of the student body and work toward meeting them, something of which Kit and I are very passionate about. Over the last couple months, Kit and myself have been putting together a platform to make sure students can afford to live on this campus, to allow for an environment of campus prosperity and well-being for all students, and to give students every opportunity to transcend beyond the classroom. With our combined experience, I know that Kit and I will be able to take action and give the student body what it needs. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our candidates. We will move on to our first of the topical questions. Our first topic will be student government and local government. We will begin with Erilyn. Your first question is, many members in student government report a disconnect between the organization and the student body. If you are elected, how will you ensure that the Senate and its members will be active within their constituencies and represent them diligently?
So I feel that part of being in student government and wanting to connect with the people is going the extra mile and making sure you're actually talking. As we see during these campaigns, people are outside of the library, they're around campus, they're connecting with the students, but as soon as they're elected, we stop doing that and we go about our way. People feel disconnected because we're not making the effort to connect. We send a couple emails here and there asking people to join, but other than that, it's just you and your small group. I know when I originally tried to join student government, I struggled with building a connection because it was them and me, someone who is new. And so I really want to work with our platform to make sure that student government is going out of their way to create events and opportunities to really connect with students who aren't involved in student government at all.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Student government all comes down to understanding what you are doing. When I first joined Senate as a Cal Senator this past April, I walked in and was completely unaware of how Robert's rules truly worked and anything of the sort and related to how exactly to manage a bill and all of that. But to be able to come to where I am today, I've been putting in the effort to learn how Robert's rules works. I have been trying to go above and beyond to participate in Senate. And I believe that it all comes down to ensuring that our senators and other members in student government feel confident in understanding that they can go out of their comfort zone and maybe mess up a couple of times to learn how to run a Senate meeting properly and participate accurately. So Emily and I will work to ensure very soon at the beginning of everyone's terms that everyone is understanding of how to properly fulfill their roles.
Thank you. And finally, Ella.
Yeah, so there are definitely varying levels of comfortability within student government, and I've seen how that can cause sort of a disconnect within student government and the student body as a whole. And I think that we need to, as a student government, approach outreach initiatives with genuine connection in mind. And I know it can get easy to be lost in your position, but I think that forming genuine connections and having conversations with students will make them feel comfortable and will make them feel comfortable enough to join student government. So I think if we have that in mind when considering outreach for students who are not already a part of student government, we will be more likely to retain members.
The next question. Student government has the most direct engagement. Students have the most direct engagement with student government during a 2-day period during the election cycle. However, only 15% of the total student population votes. With the public largely uninformed about the missions and responsibilities of student government, how will you promote awareness of student government's role and encourage student engagement? Beginning with Ella.
I think that we have a lot of resources on this campus. We have the Daily, we have the Free Speech Zone, and student government does involve themselves in a lot of outreach opportunities, but there's certainly room to go above and beyond with that. And I think efforts made at After Dark and efforts made to engage with the student body on a friendly level can actually help recruit members to student government, as well as putting on events like panels. I attended the Women in Government panel last year, and that is what actually started my involvement in student government. So I think hosting these smaller scale events or events that are more enjoyable to students would help us find more members.
Jennifer?
My answer to this question is outreach, outreach, outreach. Students need to know what student government is. Last night, I was even talking to members of our student body who had never heard of it before, and that is an issue. So by consistently showing our face and ensuring that students are aware of where their student dollars are going, we can get them more comfortable in interacting with us so they feel like we are a feasible organization, so they can come and ask for funding or possible rule changes throughout our campus so we can work with faculty better. But on top of that, Emily and I actually have a platform point titled the Roll the Vote campaign. This campaign is basically all about how to get students active in student, local, and state governments, because many students here do not know how to participate in any way, shape, or form, so we want to provide education resources on all of these topics.
Erin?
So I know personally, during the beginning of my time at Iowa State, I knew we had a student government, but I didn't know what it entailed. And up until even last year, I didn't know that we had a Supreme Court. I knew we had senators, but it's because we send emails. All we do is send emails. We don't try to actually connect. As a college student, you know you get hundreds of emails a day. I know personally today I got 50 emails. And I didn't have time to read all of them. As student government, we need to go above and beyond just emailing people. We need to continue to do that outreach like we do during those 2 days when the election is going on, so that we can truly connect with students on a personal level and inform them about what student government is, not just what they're doing, because if what they're doing doesn't apply to them, they don't care about student government. So we need to inform them about what it is so they understand and want to get involved so that they can help not only their friends but also themselves.
Okay, our next question is, what does your vision of an effective and efficient student government look like, and how will you work to create and maintain this vision of student government? Starting with Jennifer.
As I mentioned earlier, student government is all about ensuring that we are comfortable with one another and comfortable within our positions. To be able to manage an effective student government, we need to be able to converse with one another and feel like we can come to each other with any issues, whether it be student government related or not. On top of that, to be efficient in student government, we also need to consistently work with the student body. So we need to ensure that we are continuously providing open forums for them to come and voice their issues to us, whether that be an open forum during Senate meetings or perhaps at the multicultural town hall that our DEI committee puts on every semester.
Ella?
Yeah, so I think an effective student government operates when everyone understands what is going on, and I can understand that is not always the case. When I first joined student government, it took me a long time to catch on, and I think that the implementation of some training programs or some educational programs that would explain how Robert's Rules works, how to make a motion, because it does at times feel as a new senator like you're just thrown into the mix, and it can be really hard to actively participate. And a student government is like efficiently operating when everyone is participating equally. Thank you.
Erlen?
So to me, a strong student government sets tangible goals. We all have these big ideas of what we want to accomplish, but if they're not tangible, if we're not able to accomplish it, we're working towards nothing. So by creating smart or tangible goals, we'll be able to work towards something, as well as having strong communication, not just with the student body, but within each other. We should know what's going on, and there should not be any confusion. And that goes with setting up a training for those new senators, those new people coming into student government, so that they understand what's going on. I knew when I joined student government, I had no idea. I came to these meetings and I was talked at, I wasn't talked to. And so by changing the language that we use, the attitude that we have about student government, and making it a more welcoming environment, we'll be able to help people be more committed to their duties and accomplish their goals.
And as a follow-up question, the Vice President chairs the weekly Senate meetings. How do you plan to be an effective mediator in your role? Starting with Erin.
So I have a lot of knowledge on parliamentary procedure. I was trained and competed in it during my time in high school at the FFA, at the state and national level. So I am very knowledgeable on parliamentary procedure, which is a large part of that, as well as I have mediated other clubs and groups. And a lot of that is just listening and making sure that you're paying attention and staying on task. And I feel those are skills that I'm strong in and would be a great asset to the Senate.
Jennifer?
When I first joined student government, I thought it would be very similar to FFA. I have had immense experience throughout my time in high school, and so I had parliamentary procedure very underway. But then I quickly learned how different Senate meetings truly are compared to FFA meetings in high school. So to be able to learn how to improve my knowledge on how these meetings are ran, I started to study Robert's Rules of Order, as well as having meetings with experienced members in student government so they can help me learn. It's all about using our resources, and I will hope to be a resource for all students within student government.
Ella?
Yeah, so the biggest duty, arguably, of the Vice President is to chair the meetings of the Senate, and my knowledge of Robert's Rules, parliamentary procedure, and making motions in Senate is from being a senator. I did not have FFA at my high school, so I had to learn it on the Senate floor. And I think an effective Vice President can chair by listening, by waiting until the motion is certain, and by asking questions, because if you make a motion before you're certain that it's the correct motion, you could set the Senate up for failure, and I don't want to do that.
As the City of Ames implements the Climate Action Plan, are there any initiatives that your campaign believes Iowa State should adopt to show a commitment to taking care of the environment? Beginning with Ella.
Yeah, so we have the Green Initiatives Fund, and I think that's a really proud example of how student government participates in initiatives to better our use of campus resources and sustainable development on campus. And we did see an increase in the Green Initiatives Fund last year. It was actually doubled. And there have been some projects come out within the Health and Wellness Committee, but I'm excited to see more developments using the Green Initiatives Fund because we have doubled that money that is coming into that fund, and we have so much room to expand on the projects that are being developed right now.
We will now move on to the second topic of the debate. Oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry.
That is completely okay. So to start off, sustainability is the key of Iowa State. We are an science and technology-based institution, and sustainability is all about science and technology and using our resources. Our campaign has met with the sustainability department here at Iowa State to work towards developing our sustainability goal on our platform. Our goal is to increase the number of recycling compactors on campus because we want recycling to be a part of your everyday life. By just adding it so it is easily feasible to reach right away rather than just tossing it into a trash can, students will be more apt to participating in simple life tasks such as recycling if it is accessible. But we need to increase our resources available for students in order to do so.
And for Erin.
So Rebecca and I are both agriculture majors, and as such, sustainability comes with the land. We're both very passionate about it, and as a global resource systems major, I've spent a lot of my time at Iowa State learning about sustainability, learning about the sustainability efforts that we have, which is why part of our platform is looking at that beautification of Iowa State and ensuring that we are taking care of our land, because it's not just what we're putting in, it's what we have, and making sure that we are caring for it, and we want to make sure that we promote any student government that promotes and supports sustainability.
Again, I apologize. We will now move on to the next topic, which is campus climate and student wellness. Our first question is, in this school year, there were a reported 7 sexual assaults on the Iowa State campus. What resources currently exist on campus to assist sexual assault survivors, and do you think the current resources are sufficient? Starting with Jennifer.
There will never be enough resources to support our sexual assault survivors, and that is the end of story. We can never do enough to help support them and everything that they have gone through. Currently, our campus offers resources such as the student counseling services, the 24/7 crisis text line, and ISU PD as your call as well. Those are some more obvious things that provided on our campus, and some not so well-known opportunities on our campus for survivors include free forensic exams at TLIN, changes to class schedules if need be, and even escort services and safety planning on and off campus. In relation to Emily and I's platform, we would love to add sexual assault prevention training to 110 courses. All freshmen and transfer students must take this, and typically there's about 3 classes canceled per 110 course in the semester. So by taking one of these days instead of canceling it and adding sexual assault prevention awareness to these days, we can increase the number of awareness and education on this harsh topic.
Erin?
I would have to agree with Jennifer. There is never enough that we can do for the survivors of sexual assault. There is the counseling services as well as group counseling for those who choose to use it, and the ISUPD, as well as if you live in a residence hall, you do have an RA there that can help provide you as many services as they know and their comfort. But there is so much more that we can do as a campus to make sure that, one, these issues stop happening, but two, that we are supporting who it is happening to. And me and Rebecca have talked about this and what we want to do, and it's such a complicated topic. Obviously, we want to do more, but there's only so much that the school can do that they have control over without going into the legality of it, which would fall outside of Iowa State. But we want to ensure that we are providing more resources, counseling, continuing with being able to change classes, getting those escorts to make them feel as safe as possible here at Iowa State, because building a nice, warm, safe environment is one of our large goals as a slate.
And Ella?
Could you repeat the question?
In this school year, there were a reported 7 sexual assaults on the Iowa State campus. What resources currently exist on campus to assist sexual assault survivors, and do you think the current resources are sufficient?
So I have to agree with both candidates. I don't think there's ever enough that we can fully do to support survivors, but Iowa State campus safety departments did just come out with the Iowa State Safe app, and I think that is a very useful app, and it has a lot of important features. It has a blue light, it has a flashlight, it has a way to call Safe Ride, and it has an option to phone a friend for your walk home. So if you are on campus and you are feeling unsafe, you can use that app implemented by Iowa State PD, and you can have someone walk home virtually with you. And I think that is a big step toward making sure that our students feel safe and secure on our campus.
According to Sealand Student Health Center, in 2021, student hospitalization related to mental health increased 233% compared to the previous year. Considering this dramatic increase, how do you plan to address this issue, starting with Erin?
So I have personal experience with the ISU counseling facilities, and something that I really want to prioritize is making sure that they're doing the right thing. So in my experience when I went, they said that I should refer to an outside source, which is perfectly fine. Sometimes you do need to do so, but they didn't provide any assistance to me, to some of my friends, that we would be able to get the help that we needed. And so I want to make sure that our counseling services, if they promise to help, are actually following through with that, whether it's an email, it's a phone call, because these hospitalizations are happening because students don't feel connected, they don't feel listened to. We need to make sure that we are connecting, listening, checking in on them to ensure that these things don't happen.
Ella?
Yeah, so campus mental health resources are increasing as student need increases. And there is some things that we can do within student government. We have a health and wellness committee that has been doing a lot of work this year. They just had a symposium on Friday, and I would love to see those efforts further within the next few years of student government. And there are also counseling services. There is the therapy assistance online, virtual therapy that students can have. But I think the biggest issue that we face and the biggest issue that we can take part in fixing is awareness of these resources. A lot of students don't know how to access them or don't know that they are there. And I think that is something that we can take action on.
Jennifer?
Similar to sexual assault resources, mental health resources can never be abundant enough in the current situation we are in. Emily and I's platform would work to add community-based counseling to the already added student counseling services there are. Community-based counseling would be based around areas in which you identify in, whether that be racial identity, sexual orientation, or even if you happen to be a first-generation student like myself. Alongside these opportunities that would help get students into counseling sooner, even though we already have a 4 to 8 week wait, we also would like to add an advocation for a fall break. Now, advocation for the fall break would mean we'd have to work with the Board of Regents, but it would allow us to take 1 day off in the month of October, whether it be a Monday or a Friday, to give students a 3-day weekend. We believe students are stressed out with the time commitments they have. So October does not have any breaks at all, and so allowing us to have a break within that month, mid-semester, we believe that we can work to improve our mental health.
Our next question is, how do you plan to help Iowa State students meet the 6 principles of community? And is there a principle you would like to add to our current list? Starting with Ella.
One principle that I think is very beneficial is the richness of diversity. I think that encapsulates equality of representation, which is a very important principle to think about when you are creating these programs of implementation for the student body. And Kit and myself believe that it is a big priority to foster this commitment toward building an environment of equal representation and opportunity and access for everyone on our campus. And one actionable item we have to further this richness of diversity is to create an advisory board for the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Vice President Fantini.
Jennifer?
Of the 6 principles of community, the one that I resonate with the most is honest and respectful expression of ideas. Iowa State is all about innovation and choosing your own path of adventure. By participating in honest and respectful expression of ideas, we are able to truly fulfill our purposes here at Iowa State. I believe I have not had an instance where I have been discriminated against, but I know that there have been others in which people have. By working to fully fulfill these principles of community, such as the honest and respectful expression of ideas, I think we can truly create Iowa State to be an even better community than it already is. On top of the 6 that there are, I think inclusion would be a great one to add. These all kind of wrap up into one form of inclusion, but by purposefully stating that inclusion needs to happen, we can add it more consciously to our student body's minds.
Erin?
So I believe that all 6 of the principles of community are valuable and important, but I think that freedom of discrimination, without that, you can't have any of the other ones. And this is not just in the classroom, this is in your clubs, your student organizations, your residence halls. Making sure that everyone feels safe and welcome is so important. And without that, you can't have respect, you can't have purpose, cooperation, diversity, or honest and respectful expressions of ideas. Iowa State is a very diverse campus with different ethnicities, different races, sexual orientations, socioeconomic status, all of those different things, which makes Iowa State so special. And if we're not ensuring that there is freedom from discrimination, we will not be able to maintain these people here at Iowa State. And so I don't believe that I would personally add anything to these, but I would definitely push and highlight more for that freedom from discrimination.
The next question is, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees freedom of speech. Disputes pertaining to the First Amendment rights have been a common discussion here on campus. How would your campaign balance the rights protected by the First Amendment while developing a positive campus climate? Beginning with Jennifer.
We all have the right to the 5 freedoms in the First Amendment. Without them, the United States would not be what it is today. But we also know that some of these are often abused to certain people's privileges, which is not something that should be welcomed here on Iowa State. While we cannot control what other people say and do, we can work to ensure that we have policies set to make sure Iowa State is a welcome community for all, no matter their identity, who they are, what they look like, where they come from, because we are a community for each student and for all Cyclones.
Erin?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees the freedom of speech. Disputes pertaining to the First Amendment rights have been a common discussion here on campus. How do you plan to balance the rights protected by the First Amendment while developing a positive campus climate?
I think that an important thing to remember with the First Amendment right is that you don't necessarily have to agree with what someone is saying, but you do have to respect their opinion. And so by doing so, by making sure that we are listening and being respectful as it states in those principles of community, we'll be able to help people feel that they're able to share their opinions. And as a campaign, me and Rebecca don't want to choose sides because it's not about one side or the other. It's not about our personal opinion. It's about all students. And we want to make sure that we are listening and taking in all opinions so that we can provide for all the students here at Iowa State.
Ella?
Yeah, so Kit and I believe that the free exchange of different viewpoints in supportive environments really encourages students, faculty, staff, and every member of this campus to develop the critical thinking and citizenship skills that they will continue to develop after their time in university. And so I do think that the freedoms granted in the First Amendment are an important thing to consider, and honest and respectful expression of ideas is one of our 6 principles of community. But if you are a student and you do feel as though you have been discriminated against, or you feel you're in an unjust circumstance, student government does fund student legal services, and those resources are there for students to access, and I think a lot of students aren't aware of those resources, so we could work as a government to further promote those resources for students.
We will now move on to our final topic of this section of the debate, which is on diversity. Our first question is, there have been frequent debates surrounding the use of preferred gender pronouns in this legislative session for the state of Iowa. What should Iowa State students know about using preferred gender pronouns, and should Iowa State encourage its students to use them? Starting with Jennifer.
As I mentioned earlier, our mental health can be affected by anything and everything. Preferred gender pronouns are something that every person and individual deserves. So I do believe that Iowa State should encourage all students to use their preferred gender pronouns and respect their peers to use their friends' and gender preferred pronouns as well. In fact, one of Emily and I's platform points is even to create it so students can change their name on Canvas, because alongside gender preferred pronouns, your personal preferred name is important too. So by just having this simple change, students, whether it's myself and I want to go by Jen instead of Jennifer, or someone has an identity change and they don't want to have to publicly address that, that will be important in all of our students' mental health and time throughout here at Iowa State.
Marilyn?
So part of freedom from discrimination and richness of diversity at Iowa State is allowing students to be whoever they are meant to be. And so that means allowing them to use their preferred pronouns in all aspects of their time at Iowa State, whether it's in class, on campus, in clubs, student organizations, and etc. Part of me and Rebecca's platform is a first week feedback form where students can provide feedback about their classroom environment, and something they can include on there if they're not comfortable going up to a professor in front of some of their peers, even after class, being able to tell them that these are my preferred pronouns, or I prefer to go by this name because that's how they identify, will create a more welcoming and safe environment for students. We need to make sure that we are caring for not just what we think is right, but also what is right for the students. And what's right for the students is listening to how they identify and respecting that.
Ella?
Could you repeat the question?
There has been frequent debate surrounding the use of preferred gender pronouns in this legislative session for the state of Iowa. What should Iowa State students know about using preferred gender pronouns, and should Iowa State encourage its students to use them?
I do believe that Iowa State should encourage students to express themselves however they wish, and I think the code that our university operates on should encourage diversity by prioritizing inclusivity. And whether you're a professor on this campus, you are an administrator, you're a student, the way that you express yourself and the way that you refer to yourself should not change the way that other people view you.
According to the fall 2022 registrar statistics, international students make up 8.2% of the student population. What existing resources in student government are there to connect these students, and how will your campaign represent this portion of the student body? Beginning with Erilyn.
So there are multiple clubs for international students for them to get involved and meet people who are also international students and connect with them. As well as last spring, I was on the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, and we worked on providing resources specifically for international students, some of which being providing a bus from Ames to Des Moines for flights and back to help ease some of those difficulties. But I do believe that there should be more ways for international students to connect with each other and connect with everyone else on campus. I was an international student in France over the summer, and it was so hard to feel comfortable because no one wanted to come up and talk to me. It was almost like taboo. I didn't know the language. I wasn't exactly like them. And I think that this is an environment that a lot of international students, a lot of out-of-state students even face. And so by making sure that we are providing a safe and comforting environment, we can ensure that these students feel more welcome to join clubs, join student government, and really get involved.
Ella? So within student government currently, we have a position called the Director of International Student Experience, and to my knowledge, that position is still open. So Kit and I would work to fill that position as quickly as possible, as I think there's a lot of collaboration that could go on between that director position, ISSO, the International Student Scholars Office, and even offices like career services. I think that there's a lot of conversation that needs to be had within those three departments specifically. So I think filling that director position would be one way to further efforts that are making sure international students their voices are being heard and they are being represented within student government specifically.
Jennifer?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. According to the fall 2022 registrar statistics, international students make up 8.2% of the population. What existing resources in student government are there to connect these students, and how will your campaign represent this portion of the student body?
Absolutely, that is a great question. As both of the previous opponents mentioned, there is currently a director of international student experience as well as a DEI committee in our student government. These are amazing opportunities for international students to get involved in, and it is highly encouraged. In fact, we have many international students and multicultural students participating in student government because it needs to be known that anyone and everyone is welcomed to participate because all students deserve to be represented. On top of that, Emily and I are wanting to create a student organization task force in which all students would be included to participate in. This task force would work towards developing a document that would be available for all clubs on campus. So by having international students on this task force, they can represent international clubs throughout our campus to be able to make sure everyone is being purposefully represented.
Erilyn?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. According to the fall 2022 Registrar statistics, international students make up 8.2% of the population. What existing resources are in student government to connect these students, and how can these campaigns represent this portion of the student body?
I already answered the question.
Oh, excuse me. Did you all three answer that question?
Yes.
Okay. Our last question of the section is, according to data within the Office of Institutional Research, Iowa State is considered a predominantly white institution with over 72.6% of students identifying exclusively as white. What current efforts are taking place to increase diversity among the student population, and what additional initiatives should the university take to accomplish this? Starting with Erilyn.
So I know personally that there are a lot of scholarships and outreach that Iowa State does once a student applies and is accepted. They get a lot of opportunities sent to them about ways that they can afford college, which is a great way to promote diversity and bring more people in. Students want to go to places where they're going to feel welcome, they're going to feel accepted, and that they can afford. And so Iowa State does a really great job of providing a lot of multicultural scholarships. Additionally, I think there could be more outreach. As a CALS ambassador and Globe ambassador, I spent a lot of time reaching out to prospective students and talking to them, encouraging them to come here. And I think Iowa State could do a lot better job of doing that, not just in Iowa, but internationally, but also within the United States, ensuring that we are communicating with students and promoting our college, that we are welcoming, we are accepting, and that everyone here, despite being a predominantly white school, will feel safe.
Okay, that was our final question of that section. What? I'm so sorry. Ella, go ahead.
Okay. So we do have resources within student government. We have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, and on this campus we have multicultural student alliance, we have international student council, we have Black Student Alliance. But one actionable item that Kit and I have on our platform that we plan to implement if elected is the creation of an advisory board for the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Vice President Fantini. And this would allow for the needs of our students to be directly heard and met. And this would highlight areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion that our campus may be lacking in.
While Iowa State cannot do anything to increase the percentage of multicultural and international students unless they apply to attend here at Iowa State, we can do more efforts to make sure that those that are already here feel included, and make sure that those that are wanting to apply can know that they feel included. Efforts have been made, such as Black Homecoming, which occurred for the first time this previous year, the DEI Committee on the Student Government Senate that is currently offered, as well as the attempt to create so all DEI directors across the university can coordinate with one another to ensure that all efforts are being included with one another, so there's knowledge across all sorts of the campus. On top of that, Emily and I will work to make sure that there is knowledge about provided scholarships, clubs, and any fairs that can be offered for multicultural and international students, so they all feel welcome and know that they have a purpose and inclusion right here at Iowa State.
Okay, we will now move on to the candidate-specific questions. You will again have 60 seconds to answer. This first question is only for Ella. Your campaign wants to establish an advisory board for the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. What impact would this have on students, and how would board members be selected?
So I think that board members would be selected on an application process, and this would be impactful because student input and faculty and administration input, when combined, leads to direct change, and it leads to direct change that will be in the best interest of the student body. So if students are the ones having the conversation, facilitating the conversation with administration, then we can see the change that students wish to see, because sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Administration and students don't always work together. So if this advisory board is established, we would ensure that students, administration, faculty, and staff would all be having important conversations to point out every issue on this campus.
This next question is for Erilyn. Your opponent's campaign has a goal to improve community-based counseling if elected. How would your campaign work to improve mental health on campus?
So kind of as I previously mentioned, continuing outreach is really important for the people that do seek help and may not receive exactly what they need, making sure that we're checking back in with them, whether that is an email, a phone call, to ensure that they either receive the help that they need or are receiving it, as well as to promote what we do have at Iowa State for the people that are struggling. Not everyone knows what is available to them, the counseling services, the group counseling, as well as local community counseling services. A lot of people don't know about that, and by promoting it and ensuring that all students are knowledgeable, it will encourage them to come in so that they too can receive the help that they may need.
This question is for Jennifer. Your campaign has suggested the introduction of fall break into the academic calendar. Can you explain the need for an additional break and its impact on the overall calendar?
Absolutely. So the question was, what is the need for a fall break, as Emily and I are advocating for it? A fall break would not be able to be introduced this upcoming fall, as the Board of Regents has already established a calendar for this next year. However, it would have the opportunity to be introduced in the 2024 academic year. With that being said, the need for a fall break is highly important. Iowa State currently has the longest fall semester in the Big 12 Conference of 74 days. The lowest in our conference is 70 days. However, we don't have the highest overall GPA in our conference. With that information being said, we believe that our students need a break to be able to go visit home if they are out of state, so they have an opportunity in October, so they don't have to go from Labor Day weekend to Thanksgiving break to make it home. We also believe that our students deserve mental health resources, as well as the opportunity to just catch up on homework and hang out with friends if they need to. The introduction of a fall break would be either a Monday or a Friday in the month of October, so all students can have a weekend to themselves.
This next question is for Ella. One of your opponent's campaign platform includes sexual assault prevention course. Will your campaign take on any initiatives to promote sexual assault preventional measures on campus?
Yes, I think a big part of our campus prosperity platform point is promoting well-being resources on this campus, and that definitely includes sexual assault prevention courses. And I know that campus well-being programs and Iowa State Police Department, they have trainings and they have a power-based violence training that Kit and I would work to promote and work to increase attendance of and enrollment of, and we would also work to get student organizations signed up for those trainings so they would feel more empowered and they would feel safer on this campus to take advantage of those resources that we currently have.
This question is for Erilyn. One project included in your campaign platform is the restoration of bathrooms and parking lots. Can you explain how your administration would improve these amenities for students?
So this came along because Rebecca is a member of the softball club at Iowa State, and at their field, they don't actually have a bathroom at all. They have a porta potty, which is not accessible to everybody, especially those that may have physical limitations. And so part of improving those facilities is ensuring that we are providing for everyone, making sure that it's accommodable for people of all styles of life. And similar with parking lots, a lot of the parking lots on campus are getting a little run down. You can't necessarily see the lines for parking, especially in the wintertime. They don't get plowed or salted as much as they should. There's holes, there's cracks. There's just a lot that could be done to improve the parking lots on campus to make sure that students' vehicles are able to work and they're able to get to and from class in a safe manner.
This next question is for Jennifer. Academics are listed as a focal part of your campaign. Can you elaborate on your plan to create a syllabus bank and the seating notification system, and what impacts would this have on academic success?
Absolutely. I am so passionate about this topic. It sounds like a very complicated IT department topic, but we know that it is possible because other universities and community colleges throughout the United States have this resources available to their students. A seat notification system would merely consist of if a class is full, that you are wanting to register for, a student can enter their email into the system provided, and if a student drops, so there's a seat available, an email will be sent out to all students who happen to enter. By doing this, they can then register without having to go back and look through Access Plus or what will eventually become Workday to see if that seat is open yet or not. A syllabus bank would consist of a syllabus of all classes from the previous semester of courses offered here at Iowa State for all students' accessibility when registering for classes. This would allow them to know what the attendance policy is if they happen to have a work schedule they need to work around, as well as what possible assignments will be provided throughout this semester. We believe these resources are great opportunities for our students.
This next question is for Ella. Transcendence beyond the classroom is a main goal of your campaign. Can you further elaborate on the program that would make connections between prospective and current students?
Yeah, so Kit and I met with administration earlier when forming our campaign, and something that we thought of was international students who have not yet decided that they want to attend this university, but they are interested in seeing what we have to offer, seeing our facilities. And so a virtual one-on-one program where an international student could have a student ambassador there to represent them could facilitate that genuine connection, could make the international students that want to attend our university feel more inclined to do so because they feel that they have someone to connect with and someone to answer their questions directly instead of just doing a virtual meeting with a large group of students.
This next question is for Erilyn. What initiatives does your campaign plan to implement to increase outreach to student clubs and organizations?
So that specific part of our platform is specifically looking at showing students what student government has for them. And so this is facilities, funding, student engagement right here in the MU. I know personally as a member of multiple clubs and facilities, a lot of times you don't know how to do anything unless you talk to someone else who's in a club. It's very hard to find information, contact information for people unless you're scrolling, you're looking, and even then you might email someone and still get the wrong person. And so me and Rebecca want to compile all of this information and put it theoretically on a website that students can then look at and be like, oh, this is who I need to contact if I want to get a facility. This is the link to go look at how to get funding from student government, as well as this is the location of the student engagement office here in the MU in case I have questions and need help. We want to make sure all this information is in one place so students aren't looking all over the place just to find one bit of information.
Our final question is for Jennifer. Last academic year, the Iowa Board of Regents approved a 4.25% tuition increase for the 2022-2023 academic year. Your opponent's campaign focuses on affordability as a major platform. If elected, how will your administration work to lower the cost of college for students?
Absolutely, that is a great question, and I would just like to begin by saying student government does not have the direct ability to affect the tuition that we are charged here as students. However, we do have the ability to make sure that scholarships are available for students, and we are continuously working with the Board of Regents so they understand what needs and resources and problems us as students are going through. Because as times have changed, not all members of the Board of Regents may be completely aware of what problems are occurring on campus, such as financial needs. So by ensuring that we are sharing our students' voices with those that are representing us on a higher scale, as well as making sure students are aware of the resources already available and will eventually, hopefully, be available for them, they know what they can do to help themselves and help their friends as well.
Thank you to all of our candidates. We will now enter our quick break. It'll be about 15 minutes, so please return to your podiums by about 7:10. We will resume with audience-submitted questions. And for the rest of you, please submit your questions via the QR codes on the tables or on the screen, or if you're watching from home, I believe it's also on screen. I hope so. Great.
Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. That was cutting in and out. I didn't hear it on the house. Check, check. Gates off. Check, check. Check. Is it? Check, check, check. Check one. How do I? There we go. Check, 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 check. Okay, let's see how that works up here. Is it cutting in and out? Check, check, check. Check 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2.
And one of you, please remind me to take my laptop. Doing this, and because it's not with me, it's not with me the whole time, it's afraid of walk
Okay, it's 7:10. If the candidates could approach the podiums and we can restart, please. And the question submission has now closed. Okay, we will resume the debate with questions submitted by the audience and some general questions from Election Commission that we had pre-prepared. We will begin with a question for all, starting with Ella. What is your greatest strength and your greatest weakness?
Starting with weakness, I think that my greatest weakness is that I can tend to be pretty scatterbrained, and I do have a pretty diverse range of involvements on this campus, and I don't think that would lead to my downfall or anything, but I do think that I'm constantly putting in effort to manage my time and to manage my efforts in a way that benefits me and the people that I work with. And my greatest strength ties into that. I have a wide range of outreach on this campus. I involve myself in multiple different departments. I'm a student in journalism. I work in journalism, so I am pretty prone to understanding the needs of the student body and analyzing areas which may need improvement or areas which are doing really well.
Jennifer?
That is a great question. I personally believe that my greatest strength is that I believe I am a servant leader. I strive to ensure that everyone feels welcome and safe when they are with me, because I wouldn't want it any other way. And that is what a servant leader embodies, and that's also what the vice president or the president of the Senate should embody as well, to ensure that their senators feel welcome and that they can do what they need and have resources perfectly available to them. My greatest weakness would have to be in this position that I'm currently running for, that I have not had experience on the staff that the president and vice president would be working with. I have served as an at-large on the Public Relations Committee, and I also am currently serving as a College of Ag and Life Sciences senator, but I have not served as a director in any form. But I have learned how to closely work with one another so I can gain interest and education on how their positions work.
And Erilyn?
I would have to say that my greatest weakness is being an over-involved person. I do not like to say no. I like to do it all, and because of that, I find that I am doing a lot, but I also think that that is one of my greatest strengths, is I've had the opportunity to do so much, not only at Iowa State, but during my life. I have connections with people in almost every aspect of Iowa State, and so despite not really being able to say no and wanting to do it all, I'm also gaining valuable experience. So I'd say that although it's my greatest weakness, it's definitely also a really strong strength of mine.
This next question is for Ella. One of your platform points is to evaluate the current dining plans and look at restructuring them. What are your thoughts on the new dining plan format ISU Dining will be implementing for the 2023-2024 school year?
So I do think that since we saw a new director of dining on January 4th, there's a lot of room for these new dining plans to be evaluated to make sure that they are meeting the needs of the students. And I know that there are students on this campus who use the Give Swipe program, but I also know that there are students who do not know that program exists, and the same for the SNAP benefits program. So I think with this new dining program and the new director of dining, we have a lot of room to evaluate what is being underutilized when it comes to affordable living and affordable food for our students on campus.
This question is for all candidates. What are your plans for accessibility across campus, and how do you plan to ensure that each and every student is able to have equal access to their education and work opportunities? Starting with Jennifer.
Iowa State University is a community that deserves to be for each student and for all Cyclones. This means that we are working to represent our alumni, our past Cyclones, our current students, as well as our future Cyclones as well. Within Emily and I's platform, we have developed a point about creating a campus accessibility map. This map would entail of door handles across campus, so students who may have issues with various types of door handles know how they can get to class, as well as where handicap parking is available, along with elevators and stair steps. These may be some issues that not all students have to work around in their daily lives, but it is important to know that all students are recognized and deserve a spot here at Iowa State. So we are going to work to develop this with the campus IT and anyone else who is interested in helping us to ensure that all students have an equal opportunity to participate here.
Erilyn?
So part of Rebecca and I's platform is accessibility. It is something that we are both very passionate about. And with that, we want to make sure that all buildings are ADA, meet ADA requirements. And some of that goes into making sure that all the automatic doors and elevators are working at all times, because if they're not, you are preventing students from being able to get to class and get where they need to be going. As well as sidewalk salting and safety. In the wintertime, these sidewalks, they get slick, they ice over at nighttime, and if you're trying to get where you're going, even without any mobility issues, you're going to struggle. I know from personal experience of injuring myself from slipping on ice at Iowa State, and then being on crutches, I couldn't get to class because the sidewalks weren't taken care of. And part of accessibility and making sure people can get to campus is making sure we are treating those sidewalks appropriately.
And Ella?
So Kit and I strongly believe in the importance of accessibility of information, and that information could lead to awareness of resources on our campus. So we plan to work with the Office of Financial Aid and the Student Success Center to evaluate which scholarships are underutilized and which scholarships are going unused each year to make sure that these resources are easily accessible to students and students are aware that they are available for them. And I think accessibility encompasses a lot of different aspects, but this is one way that we can do our part as student leaders.
This next question is for Jennifer. How will you screen for students misusing the Canvas name edit tool? Some groups on campus don't agree with using preferred pronouns and would leap at the chance to tarnish or belittle this amenity. How would you protect against this from happening?
This is an issue that Emily and I have recognized that is one that we will have to face and work with faculty at Iowa State to ensure that this privilege would not be abused if it were to be put in place. To be able to do so, there are ways that technology work that, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the most knowledgeable on how technology works, but there's a reason that we have faculty that can do so. But within this, we have programs that can filter certain words and ensure that possibly something maybe needs to be approved on the side of the faculty before it can be officially changed in the end.
Okay, our next question is for all candidates, but we'll begin with Ella. In what ways would you go about promoting and making sure that students are aware of how and when to use the new Iowa State Safe app?
So I think that we have a lot of resources within student government. We have our PR committee, and I know that joint efforts can be made to promote that app, but also joint efforts can be made with ISU PD and with different student organizations around campus made aware of that app. We have the ability to send out mass emails. We have the ability to post informational graphics on our social media, and we should take every initiative to make sure students know that this app exists and it is there for students to use it.
Erilyn?
I would definitely make sure that we are using all of our avenues of communication to inform students of this app, whether that be social media, emails, posters in buildings, as well as for the first-year students who might not be familiar with all these avenues that student government has, having a conversation within their 110 classes, as well as we have a lot of Canvas courses that get added, maybe adding comments on there so that students can see that this is available to them and this is how they utilize it, so that they too can make sure that they're getting the most out of all of the resources offered here at Iowa State.
And finally, Jennifer.
Resource availability is an issue that is hard to tackle because our first motive is to just outreach on social media. But we need to make sure that it is recognized that some people may not be following the correct social media pages that these are published on, or some people just don't have social media at all. So as Erilyn had previously mentioned, we need to include flyers around campus. We also need to make sure that it is just constantly being talked about. Us as student leaders need to ensure that we are sharing this new information with our peers, as well as making sure that faculty are educated on what these new opportunities for students to use are on campus. So by ensuring that faculty are educated, possibly they could share it before class begins and say, hey, if you have a phone, maybe take a peek at this new app that is really important and great for your safety if you are a student here.
This next question is for Erilyn. How does your campaign plan on promoting student government to new and prospective students looking to come to Iowa State?
So Rebecca and I, we already have a plan. We want to go and talk to all of the clubs, not just about this campaign, but also about student government, because there are so many people at Iowa State who don't know what it is. With only 15% of the population even voting, a lot of people are misinformed or uninformed in general. So we really want to step away from all the social media, all the emailing, although we will continue to do that, and directly connect with students. Me and Rebecca are both members of multiple student organizations and clubs, and we want to use word of mouth because that is the most effective way to communicate with someone, is taking the time out of your day to really truly talk to them. And even though that's going to be a big time constraint on us, we do want to make sure that we are providing every opportunity for students.
This next question is for all candidates. If you are not elected, in what capacity will you be involved in student government? Starting with Ella.
So I have allocated a certain amount of my schedule for 2 years for student government, and I continue to make that commitment to student government no matter the outcome of this election. So I'm really looking forward to some form of involvement in student government. I have some ideas in mind of what I will do no matter the circumstances, but I have time dedicated every week for student government, and that will not change no matter the outcome of this election.
Jennifer?
I believe a leader needs to be willing to participate in all forms, whether they have a title of vice president or not. There are so many ways to get involved in student government, whether it be at large, on the Supreme Court, or even serving in a director position. I will continue to provide my services in student government, even if I am not elected to the vice president position, because I believe that I am dedicated to the student body. Throughout this campaign, I have truly understood the passion that I have for this campus and the students here. So I know that even if I am not elected, I would not let this passion I have go to waste, and I would love to provide it to students, whether it be in a director position, Senate, or even if I happen to apply as a justice for Supreme Court.
And Erilyn?
If I am not elected as vice president, I do plan on staying involved in student government. I was previously on the DEI committee and really enjoyed my time there. And with our platform and the things that I'm passionate about, I feel that rejoining that committee and being active there will be a great avenue for me to continue pushing some of our platform if they don't get picked up by one of the other candidates, if they do so get elected. So I do plan on staying involved and looking just at my future schedule and wanting to be involved in maybe multiple committees. We'll see. Try something new.
This next question will start with Erilyn. What do you think is the most important responsibility as vice president, and what would your day-to-day look like?
So I think that the most important responsibility of the vice president is chairing these Senate meetings, and doing so would be making sure that I know what is going to be discussed, what is happening, and understanding the rules. I personally have not served on the Senate before, and I want to make sure that I'm communicating with people who have served on Senate. Jaden, who is doing the job right now, connecting with him and seeing what I need to know and what I can do to be doing this job to the best of my ability. That being said, on the day-to-day, I'll be looking at my schedule, taking time to dedicate not only to our platform, but also making sure that I'm setting aside enough time to really focus and prioritize the Senate, because that is, as we've all mentioned tonight, the real main job of the vice president.
And the same question for Jennifer.
Absolutely. So with the main job of the vice president being to chair Senate, we also have a speaker and a vice speaker who work in Senate as well. If the vice president isn't able to attend, the speaker will step up and chair the meeting for the night. With that being said, I believe that the most important job of the vice president is communication. Communication is the key to everything, and nothing can be accomplished if we don't communicate with one another. So I would communicate with the senators I would be working with to ensure that they all feel comfortable in their position and knowledgeable about the activities that they need to pursue. I would communicate with Emily as president, and even our directors who would be serving on her president's cabinet, to make sure that everyone feels welcome and knows what is happening, and we can all correlate. So there are no one project happening here and a new idea of the same project happening over here. So we can all combine and join forces to make sure we are being as efficient with our resources and time as possible.
And the same question for Ella.
So I think one of the most important duties of the vice president is to ensure that the Senate is working as a cohesive body, and that does involve chairing the meetings, learning Robert's rules, learning the operating rules of the Senate, but it also involves collaborating with faculty, collaborating with cabinet, collaborating with the speaker and the vice speaker. Having those conversations with the people involved in student government will help the body of the government operate as a whole, and I think that is the most important duty that is left up to the vice president.
Okay, we have one final question for all candidates. Could you briefly explain why your campaign would comparatively be the most beneficial to Iowa State students, and what is one positive attribute you see in each of your opposing candidates? Starting with Jennifer.
Emily and I are standing for each student and for all Cyclones. That is our platform that we are standing on. We believe that we are the best platform up here tonight because we are diverse in our ideas. We have action items and have met with the faculty to ensure that these are doable. We would not have put it on our platform if we didn't believe that it could be accomplished not only within our year, or even if it took just a little extra time with the upcoming election that would follow the term if we were to receive the positions. Emily and I have worked tirelessly together to make sure that one another understands how we would work as a team, as well as with a staff and faculty members as well. We have the experience, we are diverse, we're from different colleges, so we are able to represent more students and make sure that more students are able to reach out to us because we have had experience with them through various other clubs on campus.
Erilyn?
So to start, I like both of my opponents' campaigns. I think that they are both very strong. With the For All Students, I really enjoy the Canvas idea of being able to choose select your name, because that can help a lot of students feel more comfortable and welcome, as well as increasing affordability on campus, I think is really valuable. But I think that me and Rebecca have a very strong platform that looks at the students and making sure that we're providing for them, because at the end of the day, those are the ones that we're responsible for. It's not what's in our best interest, it's what's in your best interest. And me and Rebecca really made sure to choose tangible goals that we knew we would be able to accomplish, whether it's improving facilities, accessibility, highlighting the hidden gems at Iowa State to make sure everyone has an enjoyable experience. You spend 4 years here, and we are striving to make those the best 4 years that any student can have. And so I feel that our platform is the strongest.
And Ella?
So Kit and I are able to reach a wide variety of different areas of campus. Kit is finance director, biology major, I'm in journalism. We have involvements going on outside of student government that allow us to sort of see what's going on around campus and have important conversations with students. And I think that our platform really encapsulates that variety of awareness that we have and exposure to everything that is going on in campus. And for my opponents, I really admire Erilyn's involvement. It seems like she has reached every corner of campus as well. She has a lot going on for her, and Jen's dedication and commitment to her campaign and to student government is so apparent, and I have seen her through student government, and I really admire both of their dedication as well.
Okay. Thank you to all three of our candidates. That is the last question, so we will move on to closing statements. Just like opening statements, you'll each have 90 seconds, and we'll start with Erilyn.
So I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us here tonight and at home, as well as Jennifer and Ella. And although our campaign has gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start, Rebecca and I are dedicated to creating a better environment for the success of all Iowa State students. When creating our platform, we prioritize tangible goals that we are both passionate about and able to complete within our term. Regardless of the outcome of the election, we intend to continue working on these goals so they do not get left behind. I would like to reiterate my passion for lighting the spark and igniting Iowa State as we strive to restore and modify, promote student success, and prioritize inclusion, diversity, and equity. Thank you.
Jennifer?
Empowerment, academics, community, health. The 4 overarching reasons as to why I am running to become your next student body vice president, and Emily is running to become your next student body president. We have discussed many different topics tonight: campus wellness and diversity, student and local government, campus accessibility, as well as so many more that are truly important to each and every student because it can affect our time here on campus. You have 3 amazing candidates standing up here tonight that are working tirelessly to ensure that you are being heard. Tonight, I would like to challenge each and every student here at Iowa State to think about who they would like to represent them. Who do they believe has the best action points and can be accomplished throughout their term they are serving? Who do they believe will make sure that they are feeling heard and accessible so they can be reached out to ensure that they are accomplishing what they believe should be done? Tonight, I am running on the platform that Iowa State University is for each student and for all Cyclones. So I would like to thank you all for your time tonight, and please remember to vote when the time arises.
And Ella?
Yeah, so one of the biggest struggles that I have faced as a college student is feeling like my voice and my input are not being heard or considered. And Iowa State is not where I began my collegiate career, but it is where I chose to stay. And our university does provide a multitude of resources for students to get involved. I'm running for vice president to ensure that I have and will continue to do all that I can to make sure student voices are being heard and input is being considered. At the end of the day, we can implement as much policy as our positions allow, but it is the voice of the students that renders that policy the most effective. And I would like to thank my opponents for coming out tonight and engaging in some good debate, and I would like to thank all of you for coming out tonight as well.
This brings us to the end of the 2023 vice presidential debate. Thank you to the 3 campaigns for attending tonight, and thank you to the members of the Election Commission, Iowa State Daily, as well as the MU technical staff that helped in preparation for this event.
For everyone listening, in 2 weeks, we will have the presidential debate where we will meet their running mates. That will be in this room on February 21st at 6 p.m. in the Memorial Union. And again, it will be live streamed on the Student Government Facebook page. Thank you again to everyone involved, and have a wonderful night.
Still on.
Good.
Look at my closing. Thank you, Bryce.